Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now, I put it here, can it be center of focus? Okay. How's everybody doing tonight? Good, good, mashallah. Excellent. First of all, let me say I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving me the opportunity to be with you tonight. Then I would like to extend my gratitude, and I'm very thankful to MSA who organized this, mashallah, wonderful event, wonderful gathering. And I thank also the university for hosting this event. And I would like to say I will be, inshallah, with you for 2 weekends, this weekend and the next weekend in New Jersey. And I'm so happy and excited about that. And the best part of it that I'm going to be starting tonight, talking to you about the journey of the believer. And let me start with this. I believe that the Muslim's journey does not only start, and the real meaning of life does not only start after death. Actually, from the moment you're born, that's your journey. That this life is not in any way less important than the next. That's not in any way less important than the next. Because Muslims, they don't live this life and forget about the importance of it and the expense of only thinking about the hereafter. Because this dunya, whatever you work, whatever you do today, you're going to see tomorrow. You're going to see tomorrow. That's why this dunya is very valuable, this worldly life is very valuable in our eyes. The Prophet Muhammad said, was asked once, Man afdalun nas? Who's the best person? Then the Prophet ﷺ said, the one who will live longer and will be able to do a lot of good deeds. So a person will live a long life in this worldly life, but this will give him or her the opportunity to do a lot of good deeds. So when they come the day of judgment, they will be proud of what they basically have done in their life. My dear brothers and sisters, it is very important for us to live for a reason. Because those who stand for nothing will fall for anything. And those who live for principles, for certain goals in life, for things that they believe in, their life will make a lot of sense, And as Muslims, when we think about the purpose of our life, the goals, the things that we give in this life, no doubt that the most important goal for us is to fulfill what Allah has created us for, which is to worship Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. As He said, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I have not created humans and jinn for any purpose but to worship me, And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that He is the one جَعَلَكُمْ خَلَائِفَ فِي الْأَرْضِ, that He created you to live on this earth and to be generations after another, one generation after another. For what? To live on this earth. And He told us also, وَاسْتَعْمَرَكُمْ فِيهَا, that He have given you or order you to live in this life, to make umrah. It's a beautiful word in Arabic. Ista'marakum, it means to be able to establish a civil life, a civilizations in the earth, in the face of the earth. So this is another worldly goal that you need to achieve, but the main purpose of creating us, first of all, is to worship Him alone, subhanahu wa ta'ala. The goal that we live for is not a goal was established by me or by one generation behind. It is from this beginning of humanity. It is the same purpose that Adam lived for. It's the same purpose that Ibrahim and Noah and all the prophets were lived for. They all lived, all these civilizations, all these generations before us, they lived on this earth to be able to fulfill that goal, which is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. To worship Allah alone. I came from you heard the brother said, I graduated from Saudi Arabia. So back there's a lot of people love hunting. And I end up in Texas with a lot of people love to hunt too. where I live right now. So I'm pretty familiar with hunting, and that's why sometimes I give example from that environment kind of. So when I see, one of the things that I was very moved by once, I saw this beautiful falcon owned by a very rich person. And that falcon basically lived in a cage, and the moment the owner of this falcon take the falcon basically to the desert for hunt, you see that falcon attitude totally change. Totally changed. Wallahi, I'm not exaggerating. Totally, the expression of the face, the excitement that you see, like, became back to life when the moment the owner of that falcon put him in the truck and they head into the desert. Why? If you ever seen a hunting dog, and this hunting dog live in a backyard of somebody, the moment the owner of this hunting dog puts him in a truck to go for hunting, the moment he do that, the dog starts getting too excited, waving his tails, so excited. Why? Because that falcon, that dog, will fulfill the purpose of his life. Allah created that falcon not to sit in somebody's garage or somebody in a cage. Allah did not create that dog to stay in somebody's backyard. The mission of that dog, that falcon, to go and to hunt, to basically run fast and to fly up high. And the moment they don't fulfill their purpose of life, the moment they live a life which is no purpose for it. I did not fulfill the purpose of my existence. It is exactly the same. If you live in this life, in this worldly life, and you do not fulfill what you were created for, it's like that falcon locked up in the cage. That's why your soul is locked up inside your body. And the moment you fulfill your divine destiny, what Allah created you for, the moment you will live totally, completely different life. Completely different life. You feel that now I'm starting enjoying my life. Now I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Now I'm doing what Allah created me for. And if you don't fulfill that obligation, that divine destiny that Allah have created you for, you will be always like that falcon locked up in a cage. And the mu'min look at this life from that perspective, that I'm living while I'm fulfilling what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered me or created me for. That's why life for us, it has totally different, as a believer, different taste, different meanings. I have different principles that I live for, and I hold on to it until the last moment of my life. And that's one big difference between true believer and others. True believer, they have principles in life, but they live up to these principles. You know, it's easy to have principles in life, but it's very hard to live up to them and to hold fast into them until you die. My brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised us, if we believe in Him, if we fulfill the destiny that He created us for, that we worship Him alone, and we have faith in Him and His messenger, and follow His command, and abstain from what He forbade us from, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised us that we will live in good, and we will die in good, and the next life we will live in good. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, من عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى, whoever do good deeds from a male or a female, من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن, while they are believers, فلنحيينه حياة طيبة وَلَنَجْزِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْرَهُمْ بِأَحْسَنِ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. That we promise them that they will live in good. They will live in good. حَيَاةً طَيِّبًا. They will live in good. And certainly we will reward them for the good deeds that they used to do in this worldly life. My brothers and sisters, the Muslim live in this life, the mu'min live in this life. As I said, with certain principle in life, believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fulfilling the ultimate goal of the purpose of his life, the divine destiny that he or she is supposed to meet. That's why what to scare people, not necessarily what scare the believer. What people terrify and is scared of, it's not something necessarily will terrify the believer. What people worry about and think about constantly will be totally different what the believer think of all the time. The way you value things, you look at things will be different. And I'll give you just one example from the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And this hadith reported by Muslim Imam Ahmad, where Ali ibn Abi Talib said, radiallahu anhu ardah, Ali radiallahu anhu said, I was sitting with the Prophet ﷺ, and all of a sudden, Mus'ab ibn Zubayr walked into the gathering. And Mus'ab ibn Zubayr, for those who don't know, was a very spoiled young man in Mecca, in Quraysh, before he became Muslim. Even he would wear one shoe, his shoes will be brought from one country, and his shirt will be brought from another country, from two different countries. That's the style of Mus'ab ibn Zubayr. When he wear perfumes, he will wear perfumes that it will last for days on his clothes and for hours in the street that he walked in or walked through. So this is a very spoiled kid. And he walked, and the Prophet ﷺ said, when he saw him, he couldn't control his tears. Can you imagine the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ crying? His tears falling in his cheeks, ﷺ? Then definitely this will raise hundreds of questions in people's mind. And one of them definitely will be, why are you crying, Ya Rasulullah? Then the Prophet ﷺ said, لقد رأيت هذا الفتى بمكة وما رأيت أعطر لمة منه. I've seen this young boy in Mecca before, and I haven't seen any more richer, in another word, like a person who lived a luxury life. He was, like we say, was living in a lap, in the lap of luxury. And when he walked into the Prophet ﷺ masjid, he was wearing very old clothes, not that fancy clothes that he used to wear. He doesn't look that fresh as he used to be in Mecca. Why? For a simple reason, that his family did not support him financially anymore. Not because he became Muslim, he looked dirty. No, people must understand. No, because he became poor. He lost wealth. He lost the wealth. He lost the money. He lost all this access to this worldly life, worldly material things. He lost it. It's not by his choice. His family said, we're not going to give you any money. We're not going to support you. We're not going to do this to you. They kick him out. But he knows that the purpose of his life, the destiny that he needs to fulfill, not to collect wealth, not to be famous and to be a powerful person because of his family. They were a very powerful tribe in Arabia at that time. That's not why Allah created him. He knew at that time that the purpose of his life, it is to worship his Lord, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if he lost the money, even if he lost the power, even if he lost the wealth, it doesn't matter anymore. Because you know what? I fulfilled my destiny. From inside, I'm living in peace and rest. I can deceive myself days and months, maybe hours and moments, thinking that I'm very happy. But in the end of the day, when I rest, when I settle down, and I think about myself, I'm really meeting my destiny. I'm fulfilling what Allah created me for, or not. Mus'ab ibn Umayr fulfilled his destiny. That's why he never regretted that decision he took. Do you think Mus'ab for a second regretted that decision that he made? Do you think now in his grave he's thinking, wow, I missed a lot by being Muslim? No, he never. He had every opportunity to go back to his family. But as long as they did not want to accept what he decided to do in his life, he's not willing to compromise that. Because what he found in Islam, what he found in Iman, what he found in faith was more valuable, more sweet than what he used to have before being Muslims. My brothers and sisters, the mu'min live in this life and it's totally different. Another example I share was way after the time of the Prophet ﷺ, with a great scholar, his name Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. One time he told him, if you don't stop what you're preaching, what you're doing, they will do this and this and that to you. Then he said a very beautiful way, beautiful statement. He said, إن جنتي وبستاني في صدري فهي معي أينما ذهبت. My Jannah, my enjoyment, my joy, it is inside my heart. It is with me wherever I go. You guys, what are you going to do to me? You're going to lock me up in jail? This is khalwa. It's like making i'tikaf. By myself, I worship Allah, I read Quran, I will be with Allah alone. And if Allah with me in that place, I don't care about anybody else. You're going to exile me and send me to another country? That will be an opportunity for me, basically, to visit a new country. وَنَفْيِ سِيَاحَ. It's like, I will get to see new people, another community, something new in my life. I don't mind. وَقَتْلِ شَهَادَةً. You killing me? You threaten me to kill me? If you kill me, I will die as a murderer, as a shaheed. You don't scare me. That's the ultimate optimism, I believe. A person willing to adjust himself to any situation that he will be in, and he will feel good. In any situation that he will be in. It is why? Because he knows that he found that he is fulfilling what he was created for. The moment live in this dunya, as I said, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَا أَيُّهَا الْإِنسَانُ إِنَّكَ كَادِحٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ كَدْحًا. O mankind. And by the way, some of the mufassirin said, O mankind, meant, Ya ayyuhal insan, meant that the verse, yes, the word very general, mankind, but it is meant to be specifically to the believer. Ya ayyuhal insanul mu'min. So many mufassirin, interpreter of the Quran, said that this verse in particular related to the believers. And it's beautiful. إِنَّكَ كَادِحٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ كَدْحًا. You are going to struggle in this worldly life. You gotta live, and there is a struggle. This life is not easy. This life is not easy. Even the way you come out of your mother, it is a struggle until you be pushed out, the way she let you go out of her body, the way you live your life, it's a struggle from the day one, and that's the nature of life. That's the nature of life. Then he said, فَمُلَاقِي. Then you will meet your Lord. So the mu'min live in this life until a moment will come, nobody has doubt about it. If there is anyone in this group think that he or she will not see this moment in their life, please come forward and tell me, how can you protect yourself from it? So maybe I'll follow your footsteps, so I can be able to love more and to be able to do more good deeds. But everyone knows that there is a moment will come, whereas you have no more moments after it. ستفضي بك الأيام في بعض مرها إلى ساعة لا ساعة لك بعدها. These days carrying us to our grave. What's the date today? March what? 10, 12, 11? Okay, 3 different opinions. Okay, March 11, 2010. Do you remember last year? Can you believe? Yes, exactly, 2009. 2009, and now we are living 2010. Do you know that you are now, from last year, March last year, you are 1 year closer to your death. You are 365 days closer to your death. You have walked 360 days already to your grave. You've been walking since last year 360 days non-stop. You did not stop a single day. Every day you're walking to your grave. And tomorrow you will take one more day of walking towards your grave. And after every day goes by, until one day will come and you will run out of days. There's no more days. There's no more days. All of a sudden, that's it. It's death. As simple as that. Al-Hasan al-Basri used to say, the death is this death is one thing nobody has doubt about. All humanity knows for sure that they will die. But they're treating death as if it is the most doubtful thing. And let me tell you, there is no cheating death and Final Destination movies, stuff like that. You know, it doesn't work in real life like this. I'm cheating death. You don't cheat nothing. إِنَّ مِيَ آجَالٌ مَكْتُوبَةٌ. The destiny are written already. There's one of the Mufassirin said a story that the angel of death, when he visited Prophet Sulaiman, he saw a man in the gathering, and he looked straight to his eyes, and the guy gets scared. He said, why the angel of death is looking to me? You know what, I don't want to be sitting here. He ordered Sulaiman, Allah gave him a power to have control over jinn and over the wind, and he said, I want to live far away from here. And he sent him to a country far away from where Sulaiman lives. The next time he told the angel of death, you scared my friend who was here. He said, who's? He said, so-and-so person. You looked straight to his eyes and he got scared. He said, no, I was surprised to find him in your palace. He said, why? He said, because I was supposed to go take his soul from such and such land, which he was sent to it. And I was surprised to see him here. And subhanAllah, this man want to run away from death, he ran away to the place where he's going to die. The person, a moment will come where he realizes how short this life is. That you can see it in front of you, like a movie going very fast forward. Do you want me to prove to you that life, no matter how long your life is short? Have you ever tried this? You can try it even now. Try to close your eyes and to think about the last year. Try to close your eyes and try to think about the last year. What happened last year? Who's done? Wow, you guys have a lot of details. Did he say? You were able to remember all. These were each day was 24 hours. It was a very long life. Now when you look at it back, you can think about the last 10 years in maybe 1 minute. Its life is short. No matter how you live it, in the end of it, it looks like that. Like when you close your eyes to think about the last year, you don't remember all these hours and days. You just remember a certain incident. And when you come to death, you just see this life in front of you running very fast. And that's where you leave this dunya behind you. You leave this dunya behind you. And nobody knows when and how and where he or she will die. A friend of mine, a doctor, he said, a girl, she's about in her early 20s, I signed the discharge paper so she can leave the hospital. She's fine, everything came back from the lab fine. He said, it's 5 minutes or less. She got a heart attack and she died in the hospital. I run back to the room and I saw a face different than the face I just passed by not a long time ago. She died. She thought that this is, I'm made it, I'm leaving the house. She died. And so many people thought that they will never die this time, and they die in this place, in this particular moment. And a lot of people think that they will die, and they never die in the time that they thought they are going to die. And Allah gave them long life. That death is the mystery. That's why when Imam Malik saw a dream, he saw in his dream the angel of death. He said to him, when I'm going to die? He told him like this. So Imam Malik gets scared. What that? 5 years, 5 months, 5 days? What is exactly? So he asked one of the great scholars who interpret dreams, Ibn Sina, he said, what that means? He said, yeah, Imam, the angel of death was telling you there is 5 things Allah only knows when they will take place. And one of them, when you're going to die. Nobody knows. Even the angel of death doesn't know it. He only knew about it when Allah informed him about it. So when a believer, that moment comes, which is an experience you never ever experienced before. Something for the first time. We never had somebody die and came back to tell us how death looks like. Yes, somebody get maybe close to death, his heart stopped for several minutes, then you bring him back to life. But somebody experienced the whole entire experience of death. We never had that. You never had this experience before. It's for the first time in your life. First time in your life to see angels. First time in your life to see your own soul. That's inside your body. That you feel it when it's leaving the body. And it is such a hard process when it comes to leaving your body, because your soul attached to your body for all these years. For God's sake, if you have a shirt, okay, that you love so much and you're wearing it for a long time, and you want to get rid of it, to throw it away, because you're so attached to it, it's very hard to give it away. You always feel, oh, I want to keep this, it has a good memory. It's such a good shirt, I was wearing it in this, be so attached to it. That's a shirt, that's a shoes, a piece of jewelry, a friend. What about your own soul and your own body? That's why the concept of death is hard, because separating the soul from the body after all these years of attachment is such a hard thing. And when this takes place, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us about the believer experience. And that's the beautiful thing about being Muslim. That yes, there's a lot of things we never experienced ourselves, but Allah told us in details how things will go. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describing the believer by saying, إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون. Those who believed in Allah, those who have faith and they believe in Allah, وَاسْتَقَامُوا, they stood fast, they were holding tight to the religion. At the moment of their death, angels will be descending. The angel will just take the soul out of the body. With it another angels, the angels of mercy, praying for you and giving you a glad tidings of two things. Allah takhafu, don't be scared or afraid. Because you don't know what's next. Human always afraid from the thing that you're not aware of. You know what's going to happen next, you're scared. So he said, don't be scared. And don't be sad. Don't be sad for whatever you're going to leave behind you. Your family, your wealth, the fun, whatever you think of, you're going to leave behind you. Whatever makes you feel sad, I'm going to leave all this, don't be sad. Because what is coming next is way better than what you left behind. What's coming next is not something you should be scared of. Those who believe and those who stood fast into the religion. And at that moment, the believer's soul leave the body. The Prophet ﷺ said, it's like, I don't want to ruin the podium. It's just a little cup. Yeah. Do you see how smooth this goes? The Prophet ﷺ said, Kalma, it's like the water when it goes out of the, it's just smooth. I just want to drink. Just 2 in 1 actually. Okay. So the believer's soul leave the body in a very smooth way. It's like this, the water coming out of basically the vessel, the container, very smooth, very smooth. And the moment it leaves, angel will say, أخرجي حميدة إلى روح وريحان ورب راض غير غضبان. Leave the soul, and they will pray for this soul to be leave this body, and they will take the soul and said, you will be going to a place full of reward and gardens, and your Lord is pleased with you. Then the mu'min, the believer, at that moment will be told about what he or she expects from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in paradise. At that particular moment, the Prophet ﷺ said, there is no believer will ever wish to go back to this world of life. At that particular moment, no believer will ever wish to go back to the world. If at that moment you said, I want to go back, that's a different case. At that moment, that means what you're seeing in front of you is not very pleasant. It's a scary thing, and you want to go back. But the true believers at that time, they will be looking forward to next. And the angel will take the soul of the believer, and the smell of that soul will be so good to the extent every angel in the heavens would say, I wish that this soul passed by me. Just to enjoy this, to looking at it and to enjoy the fragrance coming out of that soul. Until they take it all the way up in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the presence of the Almighty. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, take it back, because I promised them that this is their earth, the earth, that they will come back from it. They will be resurrected from this earth. Then after that, the soul will be reattached to the body without entering it. Reattached to the body without entering it. So in Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ said, the soul of the believer will be above the body until the body will be buried. After the burial of the body, the soul goes to another place. I'll tell you later. So the soul will be attached to the body until they do the funeral prayer, until they put basically the body in the grave. And when the person placed in his grave, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send angels to question the believer, to ask them 3 questions in their grave. Who's your Lord? Who's the one that you worship? Who is your messenger? And what is your religion? Yes, it seems to be easy to say, who's your religion? What's your religion? Islam. Who is your Lord? Allah, Muhammad. It's easy to say. But in the grave, you will only be able to answer based on your belief. And for us as Muslim, belief is not words of mouth. It's not feelings. Belief, it means that certainty in the heart and actions that the Muslim practices religion. That's what belief is. That's what belief is. So as much as the person committed and practicing, as much as his answer will be firm and easy. I have another doctor, he worked in the ER in one Muslim country. He said, Shaykh, I give shahada, I said to 21 persons, die in front of me over my course of the period of time that I've been working in this Muslim country. He said, 21 of them, I told them, say La ilaha illallah. I know they can hear it. He said maybe 3 only were able to say it. And the rest will say something else. I say La ilaha illallah. He said, doctor, mom, this, money, and some of them sing, and some of them say things like that. He said, when he swear by Allah, I know the person very good. Maybe 3, he said, this is my experience. So yes, it sounds easy, but at that moment, what really speaks is your faith, is not your tongue anymore. What really speaks is your soul, not your body anymore. And the believer will answer, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يُثَبِّتُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِالْقَوْلِ الثَّابِتِ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ وَيُضِلُّ اللَّهُ الظَّالِمِينَ وَيَفْعَلُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ. Allah support and aid the believers with the right answer in the dunya, it means in the grave, and in the hereafter when they stand before Him and when Allah question you. So the believer will say, Rabbi Allah, my Lord is Allah, my Prophet is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, my religion is Islam. And the angel will tell him the glad tidings that came from heavens. Albisuhu min al-jannah wa afrishu lahu min al-jannah. Dress him from Jannah. His soul will be dressed by a special cloth and materials made in Jannah. And basically his grave will become cool and light in it, and he will see someone have a very good looking, someone coming towards him. This, who are you? Then the person in his grave would say, who is this person? Then that will say, Ana amaluka salih, I'm your good deeds. I'm your good deeds. I'm your charity. I'm the smile that you give it to your brother, to your sister. I'm the help that you offer the day. I'm the prayer that you made. I'm the zakat that you give. I'm the fasting that you did in Ramadan. I'm this and this. I'm the good deeds that when you organize this and you help that person. All these good deeds that we do, it will come in the shape of a person who is very good looking to comfort you, to give you a company in that place. And a person and the believer's soul, as the Prophet ﷺ said, نَسَمَةُ الْمُؤْمِنِ طَائِرٌ يَعْلَقُ فِي شَجَرَ الْجَنَّةِ. The believer's soul will be turned or take the shape of a bird, and it will be sitting on the trees of paradise until the day of resurrection comes. For the believers, the Prophet ﷺ said, the whole entire period between death and resurrection, no matter when you die. And this is very interesting, and because basically if you look at our worldly life here, it wouldn't make sense, but in certain sense. But we talk about the world of the unseen, things are totally different. The concept of time is different. The Prophet ﷺ, giving us the example, said, from the time of your death until the resurrection, it feels like between Dhuhr and Asr. Smooth, no matter if you die 1,000 years ago or you die 1,000 years from now. For anyone, because the type of enjoyment, you don't feel the time. You know, I'm sure if somebody enjoying this lecture wouldn't know that it has been already how many minutes. I don't even know, because I'm enjoying it, guys. So, but somebody's not very into it. Wow, it's been already that much, long time. So that's basically very common. When you enjoy something, you don't feel even the time. You don't feel the time. Until a day will come when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resurrect people from their grave. See, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us with two things. He created us with soul and body. Soul and body. And He created for us three types of lives. First one, this worldly life. Most of the joys and the enjoyment and the fun and the happiness and the sadness and the troubles and the bad things related to the body, mainly to the body, not on the soul. And when it comes to the grave, it's the opposite. The body soon will vanish, and the punishment and the reward in the grave mainly to the soul, not to the body. But when they come in the hereafter, in paradise or hellfire, may Allah protect you all and all of us. In paradise or hellfire, the enjoyment and the punishment, the reward and basically the suffering is equally distributed between the body and the soul. So just equally distributed between the soul and the body. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the order and the resurrection, when people will be resurrected out of the grave, can you imagine every single person coming out of this earth? That's why Allah called this earth mihada. Do you know the verse? Alam naj'al al-arda. One of the meaning of mihad, mahd, it means the crib, where you put the baby. Mahd, because we call the crib mahd because it is very smooth. Okay, it's very smooth. It's like He stretch it and level it. Yes, that's one meaning, but also to have indication it is like the crib, because earth is like mother. It's like mother to us. It's like giving birth to us. That's why even in common language, in Arabic language, a lot of poetry refer to earth as, we say in English, Mother Earth, Mother Nature. Same exactly words used in Arabic. And the scholar said, one of the meaning, because Mother Earth, because it gives us birth in the day of judgment. It's like giving birth to us. We're coming out of it. We're coming out of it. Exactly the same way you came out of your mother. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said,
ويوم ينفخ في الصور ففزع من في السماوات ومن في الأرض إلا من شاء الله وكل أتوه داخرين وترى الجبال تحسبها جامدة وهي تمر مر السحاب. Warn them the day when Allah will order the trumpet to be blown, and you will see that everybody in the earth and the heavens terrified, except those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will, that they will not fear that day. They will not have any fear that day. Even though people terrified everywhere, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give example that you see the mountain turn to be like sahab, like clouds. Now, when you hear about the earthquake, when you see this big building moving and shake, just moving, you get scared to death. When you see the mountain, what about mountains, big mountains, and it turned to like dust, or like, they look like mirage, or look like clouds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَوْمَ تَرَوْنَهَا تَذْهَلُ كُلُّ مُرْضِعَةٍ عَمَّا أَرْضَعَتْ وَتَضَعُ كُلُّ ذَاتِ حَمْلٍ حَمْلَهَا وَتَرَى النَّاسَ Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَتَرَى النَّاسَ سُكَارَى وَمَا هُمْ بِسُكَارَى وَلَكِنَّ عَذَابَ اللَّهِ شَدِيدٌ. When the woman who breastfeeds will leave her baby, her infant. Can you imagine that? It's not like a kid who's 6 or 10 or 15, which is very difficult to leave, but even the infant that just suckled from her breast, she will put him down and will leave him, running to protect herself. And the pregnant woman will basically lay down her load. She will be leaving her loads coming out of her because of the fear. You see people look like trumped, like they don't know where they're going. And there is nothing wrong with them except that they are scared. They are scared. At that day, my brothers and sisters, where people regret the wrong thing that they did, وَأَنذِرْهُمْ يَوْمَ الْحَسْرَةِ, the day of regretting. When people regret the days that they wasted in life, the wrong thing that they did in life, that they didn't take advantage of life. What happened in that day? In that day that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described in so many verses in the Quran. What happened to the believers? What happened to the believers? Very simple. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about those who fear the day of judgment today. Now, me and you, who fear this day today, who thinking about it today, who preparing himself for that day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about the believer. إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا إِنَّا نَخَافُ مِنْ رَبِّنَا يَوْمًا عَبُوسًا قَمْطَرِيرًا. We're giving food to the hungry and to the needies, and we're helping the poor people. For what? Because we fear the day of judgment. فَوَقَاهُمُ اللَّهُ شَرَّ ذَلِكَ الْيَوْمِ. Allah protect them from the evil of that day. That's the result. That's the result, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect them. The Prophet ﷺ said, Allah will never let you fear the day of judgment twice. If you fear it today, you're safe tomorrow. If you're careless about it today, if it never crossed your mind, when you're about to do what is haram, when you're about to say, or to eat, or to consume, or to do what is wrong and what is evil, and you know it is not allowed for you to do it, but you never cared about the day of judgment, that day you will fear it. That day you will experience that fear. But if you today protect yourself, and you feel that day, Allah said, لا يحزنهم الفزع الأكبر وتتلقاهم الملائكة الْمَلَائِكَةِ, they're not scared at that day. An angel will come approach them. هَذَا يَوْمُكُمُ الَّذِي كُنْتُمْ تُوعَدُونَ. This is the day you've been promised. This is the day you've been promised. My brothers and sisters, at that day people taking their books, handle their books, and the believer, they take their books with the right hand in front of them, with honor. Others take it with the left from behind their back while they're facing down. Believer, take the book, and guess what? يَقُولُ هَاؤُمُ اقْرَءُوا كِتَابِيَهْ إِنِّي ظَنَنْتُ أَنِّي مُلَاقٍ حِسَابِيَهْ. Read my book, read what I used to do. I used to do, alhamdulillah, good things. I used to do what is right, what is good. I used to be good to others. I used to be a person who always, people expect nothing from him except what is good. إِنِّي ظَنَنْتُ أَنِّي مُلَاقٍ. I always believe that one day I will come and I will be judged for my actions. The mu'min take this book, and in it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the end would say, in it would say, this so and so, my servant so and so, he has the right to go to Jannah Ali, to a very high level in paradise, to a very high place, which is the paradise, In this book, as I said, when you read it, when you look at it, you see all the words that you say, astaghfirullah, subhanallah, the salat that you made, the tears that one day maybe fall on your cheek when you raise your hand and you said, Ya Allah, I have done this and that, forgive me. In this book you see the mercy of your Lord. When Allah weighed your deeds, can you imagine? The Prophet ﷺ said, any one of us will do good deeds, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiplied 10 times. Multiplied for you 10 times. So if you, the Prophet ﷺ said, for instance, if you say before you go to bed, Subhanallah 33 times, Alhamdulillah 33 times, Allahu Akbar 34 times. How many of these? 100. He said, this is 100 by your tongue, but it will be 1,000 in your day. Then the Prophet said, after each and every salat, you say Subhanallah 10 times, Alhamdulillah 10 times, Allahu Akbar 10 times, 5 times a day. How many is this? 150. If you multiply this, it will be 1,500. Then the Prophet said, who among you commit 2,500 sins every day? There is somebody. Some people do, but most of the people, they don't do that much sins every day. 2,500 reward. You know how it works? One reward, one sin. So if you do so much reward like this, that means the chance is very high for you to go to paradise. That's why I swear by Allah, only real loser go to hellfire. Because the chance to go to paradise is very high. All what it takes for you just to act. Wallahi, all what it takes for you just to act. As the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah said, son of Adam, if you walk to me, I will run to you. That's all what it takes, is really to walk towards him. And the believer angel come to them and telling them at that moment and pointing them toward Al-Jannah, وَنُودُوا أَن تِلْكُمُ الْجَنَّةُ أُورِثْتُمُوهَا بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. A caller will call upon the believers, all of us sitting there, waiting. And a caller will say, Jannah is there. This is a reward for what you used to claim, say, no. What you used to do. Actions what really determine who you are. You know, what is his name? Henry Ford said once, your promises will not build your reputations, but action will do. Your reputation will never come from promises. It will come only from actions, from your actions. That's what really builds your reputation. If you keep saying, I will do this, I will do that, you don't build a reputation by that. Your reputation only be built by your actions. So your reputation in Jannah and in front of Allah is not going to be built by, I am good, I'm good, I'm good. It's by you really being good. You really doing what is right and what is correct. Okay? So angel will say this is a reward for what you used to do, not to claim, to do in this worldly life. Then people enter Jannah. The Prophet ﷺ said there is a day will come and the gates of Jannah will be crowded of people. Allahu Akbar. Even one gate, the Prophet ﷺ said, is as big as between the east and the west, like the horizon. And one day will come and people crowded at that gate. There are jam traffic at the gate. People entering to the Jannah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, the angel telling them, Salamun qawlan min Rabbir Rahim. This is Allah Himself greeting them with salam, welcoming them and greeting the believers. After they cross the bridge and they see the Jannah and they enter it. But before that, before even entering Jannah, forgot to mention, people who cross the bridge as fast as, based on their deeds. If they're very righteous, very good, they cross fast. And people cross it like the light, like the wind, like the horses, the Prophet ﷺ, people running, and there is people crawling, people falling off and hanging and coming back until they survive. Based on your deeds, how good you are in this worldly life. But there is an arch bridge. It's called Qantara. In Sahih Bukhari Muslim, the hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ said, at that arch bridge, the believer, if there is something between both of them, between two believers, they will settle this problem here. If I took your money, if I took something from you, backbite you, said things bad about you, in your absence, cause trouble to you, this is the time where we take care of this. And the Prophet ﷺ said, the worst person at that time, the real loser at that day, the person will pass all of this. And that particular place, people will say, yes, he used to say this about me. He used to send emails about me. He used to say things bad about me in his Facebook and her Twitter. And she'd send this about me. And she's tweeting about this. And all this gossip and, sins and stuff between humans. And in that moment, people basically, I need from you, what? Your good deeds. What it means to take from my good deeds. Two things. I go low in Jannah, my level go down, and your level go up. But what if I run out of good deeds? You know what? I give you from my sins. What that means, I go higher and you go lower in hellfire. The Prophet ﷺ said that a person will run out of all the good deeds, then he will be taken back to hellfire. And in one hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah will ask two people, will be basically, that person said, Ya Allah, this person doesn't deserve to go to Jannah. He did this and that to me. And I want my reward from him. I want to take from his good deeds. Revenge. Then Allah will tell both of them, raise your heads up. Then they look, and he said to the one who been abused in this worldly life, and he will tell him, do you see in front of you? Then he said, yes, I see. This is a great palace. It's like gardens. This place must, he said, do you know who this for? He said, no, I don't know who's this for, Ya Allah. It must be for a prophet or a messenger or somebody like very special. Then Allah will say, this place today for those who are willing to give or to forgive their brothers and sisters. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam cried. His words were mixed with tears when he said that. He said, if Allah tried to reconciliate between people in the Day of Judgment, so you Muslim, you believer, should try to reconciliate between people in this worldly life as well. People enter Jannah. And in Jannah, where things cannot be, everything you can imagine, everything you wish you get. You never get sick, you never get sick of it, or you never get sick in it. You never get tired, you never get, you never die, you live forever. It's infinity. It's like living without end, and nothing boring, everything changed. Everything changed for you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Jannah, where the Quran telling us about Al-Jannah, about the people of Jannah, في جنات وعيون. The people of Jannah, فرحين بما آتاهم ربهم ووقاهم عذاب الجحيم. فرحين بما آتاهم ربهم بما آتاهم الله من فضله. The people of Jannah, يسقون من رحيق مختوم. The people of Jannah, في شغل فاكهون. The people of Jannah, وعندهم قاصرات الطرف عين. In Jannah, the clothes, just go ahead and read Surah Al-Insan and see how Allah described in details what they drink, what they wear, how they sit, they are in shade, they are in the beautiful weather, every details about how people enjoy themselves in paradise. I just end with one hadith where Musa alayhi salam said, Ya Allah, I want you to describe to me the paradise. Tell me the last person enter paradise, the one who will be living in the lowest level of paradise, what he will get or she will get. The one in the bottom. Then Allah told Musa, that will be a person, he will be in the top level of hellfire. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow him to leave the hellfire, but he still feel the heat and see the hellfire with his own eyes. So that person would say, oh Allah, would you please let me be in a very far away from the hellfire where I cannot see it, I cannot smell it, I don't want to feel it or hear the people screaming inside. I just want to be far away from them. Then Allah said, would you ask for anything else? He said, no, if you do this to me, I'm fine for the rest of my life. I don't want anything else. Then Allah will let him far away under a tree where he can see paradise from a distance. After a while he said, oh Allah, can you put me at the gate of paradise? To really be able to smell the fragrance of paradise, to see the people inside. Then Allah said, you just promised me you don't need anything, you don't gonna ask for anything else. He said, that's it, no more requests. Would you promise me? He said, I promise you. Then Allah will let him be at the gate of paradise. And while he's in the gate, he's looking at inside paradise, the gate still open, see people living inside. He said, Ya Rab, just let me put foot in it. Just to be inside this gate. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will laugh and say to him, مَا أَكْثَرَ غُدَرَكَ يَا ابْنِ آدَمَ. Always you break your promises, son of Adam. You promised me you don't want anything, and now you want this. He said, Ya Rab, just Jannah, enter and nothing else. The Prophet ﷺ said, this is the last person to enter Jannah, and the gate will be closed after him, after that person. And the Prophet ﷺ said, when he walked into the Jannah, Allah will say to that person, wish, what do you want? He said, I wish this and this and this and this and that. Then he said, wish. Then he said, I want this and this and this and this and that. And what else? This and this and this and that. This, the hadith goes like this exactly. Then he said, that's it? He said, that's it. فَيُذَكِّرُهُ اللَّهُ بِبَعْضِ مَا كَانَ يَشْتَهِي مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. Allah will remind him of things that he used to like in this worldly life, but he forgot to mention it. So Allah said to him, what about this and this? He said, yeah, I want this one too. So he would basically even say it. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, after he finished, Allah will say, I will give you all what you ask for. And I will give you even equal to what the most richest, famous person ever lived on this earth used to have. Then he said, Ya Rab, you're making fun of me and you are the Lord? So human beings are human beings. Even when they enter Jannah, He said, you're making fun of me even يعني, you're making, قال أتهزأ بي وأنت رب العالمين. You're making fun of me and you're the Lord? He couldn't believe that all this he gonna get. Then Allah would say, and I will multiply it for you. I will multiply it for you. I will multiply 5 times. This is the least amount of thing that you can get in Jannah. You know, when I read this hadith, I swear by Allah, the same question that Musa asked Allah, even before I read it, it came to my mind. When I think, some of you thinking about the same question, which is, if this is the lowest amount of reward, what about? He said, what about the highest? Then Allah said, this is Jannat Adn for those al-A'la. I have created it with my own hand. I planted the tree in that paradise with my own hand. I have made it for the righteous of my servant. In it, things no words can describe. Because, why no words can describe? Because in it, things never seen before, never heard of before, never imagined before. Do you know what that means? Because you cannot understand anything unless it has a common meaning between me and you. Like if I tell you, you know what we have in Texas? Khalan tafush. You guys want some? Khalan tafush, what do you think? Excuse me? Yeah, everything possible in Texas. Khalan tafush, it makes any sense to anybody here? Are you excited about it? Huh? Answer me. No, that's right. Why? Because it doesn't have any meaning. So, because you never heard this word before, you never seen something like this before. So that exactly, if I describe to you, Ya Musa, what's in this paradise. Yes, I can describe you in Jannah what you're familiar with. There is fruits, there is trees, there is rivers, you're familiar with that. But if I mention other things that I created, you've never seen, even if I mention the name of it, it wouldn't make sense to you. So no point from mentioning the name of it. You're only going to see it, and that time you know what it is. You know what it is. So, my dear brothers and sisters, this paradise is something you don't miss. This is a goal that you cannot underestimate. This is a goal. That's why the Prophet said, if you ask Allah Jannah, don't ask him just a Jannah, ask him the highest level of Jannah. Aim high. You remember Abu Bakr? When Abu Bakr as-Siddiq said, Ya Rasulullah, there is anyone will be called from the 8 gates of paradise? He said, yes, you. He wants to be called from the 8 gates of paradise. How many gates Abu Bakr will enter from? 1. Why he want to be called from the 8? Do you think one legs in one door and one arm from one door and his head from one gate? He can enter from, so why he want to be called from the 8 gates? Because he want to be the one who make the choice. That's how he aims high. One of us, from the window, just let me enter, throw me in any way possible. You can underneath the door, push me in, whatever it takes you. But he's not like that. He's aiming to the highest level of Jannah. He wants to achieve the highest goal. That's why, my brothers and sisters, that's a place that we don't want to miss. That's the place where for the rest of our life. That's where you fulfill every enjoyment that you can think of. That's the place where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قُلْ بِفَضْلِ اللَّهِ وَبِرَحْمَتِهِ فَبِذَلِكَ فَلْيَفْرَحُوا هُوَ خَيْرٌ مِمَّا يَجْمَعُونَ. This is the fadl, the ni'mah, the bounty of Allah, that there is no bounty beyond it. In it you will be able finally to meet Allah, to talk to Him, to see Him, which is the highest reward ever that a person can get. وجوه يومئذ ناظرة إلى ربها ناظرة. They're looking at the Lord. And the Prophet ﷺ said, يحاضر ربكم كل واحد منكم في الجنة محاضر. يعني مكالمة ما بينه وبين. Allah will talk directly to every person in Jannah, one to one. Nothing beyond this. That Lord that you've worshipped all your life, finally you get to meet Him. subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the Prophet said, أَسْأَلُكَ لَذَّةَ النَّظَرِ إِلَى وَجْهِكَ. Oh Allah, I ask you the enjoyment of looking at your face. This is an enjoyment, nothing beyond. And that's the highest things that the person can ever achieve in paradise. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among the people of Jannah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who work hard for it. Because paradise needs from us a commitment. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, upon his death, he said to the Muslims at that time, and to all of us, he said, أَلَا إِنَّ سِلْعَةَ اللَّهِ غَالِيَةٌ أَلَا إِنَّ سِلْعَةَ اللَّهِ الْجَنَّةِ فَشَمِّرُوا لَهَا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the reward that He has prepared for you in next life is so high, is so valuable, which is paradise. And it needs for you to work hard for it. And it's always about this heart. I shared this story with some of you when I was teaching Raise of Faith before, but I think it's a very effective story. And it's funny, but it really has a great meaning that I hope that I leave you with tonight. Which is, a friend of mine was once shooting an episode. They basically recording a lecture of him in Mecca. It was Ramadan, people spiritually very high, motivated. And my friend, every 15, 20 minutes, the cameraman, he's a very heavy smoker. He always goes outside to smoke and come back. So my friend asked him, why don't quit smoking, man? Then he said, like any smoker I've ever seen in my life so far, they have the same answer if they are Muslim. I told him, why don't quit smoking? He said, Shaykh, ad'uli, pray for me. That's all the time, pray for me. Okay, pray for yourself, I pray for you. I don't mind, but you have to act. Anyway, so my friend said, okay, come on. He took him, and they opened the window. You can see the Kaaba. It's very, Mecca, Ramadan, last 10 days of Ramadan. And he said, I raised my hand and he said, oh Allah, I ask you by your name, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Malik, Al-Quddus, Al-Barr, Al-Ra'u. Every single name and attribute I can think of it that day came into my mind. And I started mentioning them one after another and praising the Almighty Allah and glorifying Him. The man was so moved, he started crying, his tears came. Everybody in the room was so moved, crying. I myself was very moved by that. And I start asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, give him this and that, do this and this to him. Anything you can think of, good, that can happen to any person in this life, I mention it. From health to wealth to family, children, something in the near future, anything, this door, the life, the next. And the guy was completely, and he moved by that, crying, crying. And he said, and in the end they said, oh Allah, don't give him anything from all of this if he doesn't quit smoking. He said, the guy was saying, Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. When I said that, he said, huh? Do you know, he never said Ameen. He stopped. He paused. Do you know why? Because he was not ready to quit smoking. When he said, pray for me, was just lip talk. Was not really from his heart. And there's so many of us like this. We just talk. But to act, to be committed, to make that decision, it is something else. And that's what you're going to be asked about. And today, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have made this to happen, to be a reminder to me, a reminder to every one of us. So we shall not have an excuse when we meet Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Thank you very much for having me tonight. And I hope to see you inshallah in our program. And again, thank you for having me. And do you guys have food afterwards? There's one thing I hate in my life. I always hate that. To be that thing between you and your food,